Hi, I'm Tracy, and I have created an CFS Research Chatbot. In this video, I'll discuss how the chatbot works. I'll talk about how it differs from other chatbots you might use, and I'll address some potentially controversial decisions I made about how it answers questions. So, to start off, if you click on the link that's in the description below, or if you search for it online, you'll get to this page, and the cursor will be blinking down here in this field at the bottom where you can type in a question, an instruction, or simply a topic. So, for example, I can type in causes of ME/CFS. I press enter, wait a few seconds, and up comes a list of potential causes. Now, where does this list come from? The chatbot summarizes research from and only from the NIH's PubMed database. That database contains all of the published medical research on myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome. About 7,000 research articles are in there. So the answer is based on the published medical research, and the chatbot makes it more easily understood and shorter. So here's an answer on causes of ME/CFS. If I wanted to ask a follow-up question on this same topic, causes, then I would type it in at the bottom. I'll say, please elaborate on infectious agents. And farther down, there's an answer. It gives potential infectious agents that have been mentioned in the research literature and considerably more. Now, if I ask another question, the chatbot is going to assume that I'm still interested in the causes of ME/CFS. The chatbot will take into account my questions and its answers that are appearing on the screen. So if I want to ask a question on a new topic, I need to click on New Chat, or I could just refresh the page and click down here in this field. And let's see, I'll say treatments for ME/CFS. And after a few seconds, we get a list of treatments, some of which are controversial or that are simply unpopular. And I'll talk about that towards the end in the section on controversial decisions I made. But the important point here is that whenever you have a new topic, and if there's ever any doubt, just click on New Chat. And you can always go back to your previous conversation by clicking here or here. That information is saved on your computer. It's not something that I see. No one, as far as I know, sees your identity, the questions you ask, or the answers you get. That's all um, between you and the chatbot. Um, okay, so that's the basic operation of the chatbot, but you can do more with it. If you wanted the chatbot to simplify an answer, perhaps you um, find one of the answers a bit too technically involved, you can ask it to simplify it. Or you just want more information. Just type in, please simplify. If you want further information on a topic, uh, like, for example, um, it lists mind body interventions here. You could ask it, for more information about yoga for MECFS, and it will provide uh, the information that's in its database. What might not be evident is that behind all of this is a database of all of the research on MECFS, and a link to that database is below. But if you want the chatbot to give you the title and date of the articles so that you can find them yourself on a particular topic, you can ask the chatbot for that. So up here, I've already done this. I asked it to please provide a list of all studies discussing heat shock proteins, showing title and date. And it gives me a list of 11 articles on heat shock proteins and MECFS. So that's particularly valuable. And because it knows the date of the articles, you can ask it to limit your search to only studies before or after a particular date. So it works pretty well in terms of a bibliographical search if you want to get to the original sources. So you might be asking, why wouldn't you just go to the PubMed site itself and do a search? And one of the reasons, maybe the biggest reason, is that this chatbot doesn't simply find the research that's been done, it summarizes it. It makes it easier to understand so you don't have to be a specialist to understand the research. It also makes it shorter so you can save some time. Another reason is that it's just easier, even if you're ultimately going to read the original study on this chatbot, you can uh, enter synonyms and it will understand that they are synonyms. Whereas on PubMed, you pretty much have to know the exact term that shows up in the article. For example, I'm interested in heat shock proteins, but I screwed up the first time I searched for them on the chatbot and put in heat stress proteins, but the chatbot understood that I meant heat shock proteins. It understands that PWME stands for people with ME. It knows that if you put in chronic fatigue syndrome, you're also interested in myalgic encephalomyelitis, and so forth. So it's easier, and it's easier to search, and it's easier to understand the answers. Now, a more obvious question is, why wouldn't you just go to some other chatbot like Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude? All of these general chatbots will answer your questions about MECFS and not do a horrible job of it, but they will do a different job from what my chatbot will do. And so, how is it different? Well, one of the ways it's different is that my chatbot looks only at the published medical research. If there is something that a researcher has put out there that's just kind of an educated guess, it hasn't been published except on their blog or some social media, it's not going to be there in my chatbot. It's not, what the chatbot also doesn't have is if someone like me puts out a blog saying my own personal ideas about MECFS, or I comment on a forum, that's not going to be accessed by this chatbot. It's only research articles that go into it. So, depending on what you consider to be a better source of information, you might appreciate what you get from Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude. But there's another difference. My chatbot will always give you the same answer if you ask the exact same question with the same words and punctuation. Every time you'll get the same answer. Whereas Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude, they will actually give different answers each time because they're programmed to have creativity. They're not just for research, they're for creative writing and all sorts of things. And so part of their so called creativity is by design giving different answers to exactly the same question each time. So let me illustrate this. I asked it to please discuss heat shock proteins in MECFS and provide a list of all relevant abstracts showing the title and date. That's so here's Gemini. It gives a nice discussion and it gives a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 articles. I asked exactly the same question or gave it the same instruction um, a different time, and it gives a different discussion and a list of, I believe, 9 different articles. So 6 one time, 9 the other time. They, they are inconsistent and they do not give the absolute best answer each time by design. And is this answer, this fuller answer, any better than the same question gets using my chatbot? And my chatbot provides a similar number of uh, articles and it also gives a similar discussion. I don't believe that the quality is higher from the best answer that you will get on, for example, Gemini. Gemini did a better job than ChatGPT or Claude. That's why I'm showing Gemini. Toward the beginning of this video, I said that we would return to this screen where I ask about treatments for MECFS. And that's because some treatments are controversial. People with ME specifically do not want graded exercise therapy to be listed as an appropriate treatment. And there are others that some do believe in and some don't, or there's a variety of it they do and a variety of it they don't. I'm like I fit in with that. I personally believe that graded exercise therapy is a horrible way to treat MECFS. I believe that the chatbot does not recommend any of those sorts of treatments. It lists them sometimes, but it doesn't recommend them. And every time that I have tested it, it has actually provided a warning, a caveat, a discussion of the controversy around, for example, exercise therapy. So here it says exercise can be harmful to patients because it can trigger post exertional malaise. The version of cognitive behavioral therapy that it lists says that it's focusing on better management rather than increasing activity. Basically, the reason that these show up with their discussion of their limitations or dangers is because I did not want to be the one deciding what is shown to people who are trying to look at the research literature. So it is a summary of what's publicly available through the NIH. And in my experience, it provides responsible answers. To wrap up, if you've made it this far, thank you. This chatbot is sincerely intended to make the research on MECFS more accessible, whether it's to researchers or, more importantly, to people with ME. And I hope you'll try it out and share your experience with me. Who knows? Maybe I'll be able to improve it in time.